Daniel Shaw's morning began, as always, with a screen. Not the sun, not the sound of birds or a breeze, just blue light and beeps, 36 emails, 9 calendar alerts, 3 missed calls from his boss, and a Slack ping from someone in Singapore who didn't seem to understand time zones. He blinked into consciousness in his luxury downtown apartment, surrounded by glass, concrete, and cold. Even the walls looked tired. He drank his third coffee before 7:15. By 8, he was dressed in the usual uniform. Crisp shirt, expensive watch, a face that practiced smiling. At 9 o'clock, he was in the conference room with a client worth 8 figures. At 9:06, the world slipped sideways. His voice had just begun delivering projections when the room darkened around the edges. A buzzing filled his ears. The numbers on the screen blurred. Then his chest tightened. Not a little. Like a fist, squeezing. He gasped. His hand reached out for something that wasn't there. And he collapsed. Part 2. The Retreat. The diagnosis was classic. Burnout, anxiety, possible early cardiac issues. The prescription? Time off. Nature. A change of scenery. Words that sounded like cheap advice from someone who'd never had to keep a company afloat. But Daniel listened. Mostly because he couldn't keep going. Not like this. Not anymore. It was only after his aunt reached out that he remembered the cabin. Tucked away in the Pacific Northwest, it had once belonged to his grandfather, a man Daniel barely knew. After a childhood argument with Daniel's father, the old man had moved there and never looked back. Now, decades later, the property was in Daniel's name. "There's no Wi-Fi," she warned. "You'll need to bring your own food, tools, maybe books, and be ready for silence. Lots of it." Silence. For some reason that sounded appealing. So he packed. Left an out-of-office reply that was half apology, half goodbye. He drove for 2 days through gray cities, winding roads, and into green that deepened with every mile. The last hour, he lost cell service. And then there it was. The cabin. Wooden. Crooked. Breathing with age. Wrapped in pine trees that stretched like ancient sentinels. It didn't look like peace. It was peace. And for the first time in a very long time, Daniel slept without dreaming. Part 3. The Stillness. The first days were hard. There was no phone signal, no morning emails, no buzzing, no people. Just birds and wind and that strange rhythm of nature that didn't care about schedules. Daniel struggled. He reached for his phone reflexively. He kept checking his watch, even though he had nowhere to be. But slowly, the silence stopped feeling heavy. It became light. He cooked simple meals, chopped wood with terrible form, read the few dusty books left in the cabin. He found an old hammock between 2 trees and lay there, watching the way sunlight moved through pine needles. He started walking. First short walks, then hours, then whole days where he didn't know how far he'd gone. One evening, while sitting by a creek, he noticed something. His breath. Just his breath. Slow. Real. He smiled. No one saw it. No one needed to. Part 4. The Roots. In the attic of the cabin, Daniel found a chest. Inside, journals. His grandfather's handwriting filled dozens of leather-bound notebooks. Observations about birds, the stars, what mushrooms were safe to eat, but also feelings, thoughts, memories. One passage read, "We think the world owes us pace, but it only ever gives us presence. If you miss that, you miss everything." Daniel sat with that sentence for a long time. He began writing too, not for anyone, just for himself, about the way moss grew like velvet on old stones, about the coyote he glimpsed one morning, about the ache in his chest, not from stress this time, but from remembering what he'd forgotten. His childhood came back in fragments. Summer days fishing with his father, building fires with a boyish pride, that sense of wholeness that had slipped away when the chase for success began. Here, among trees, it started to return. He learned to fish again, to mend small things, to build a bench from fallen logs. He walked barefoot when the ground was warm. He talked to squirrels. He listened to the wind. One night, under a sky spilled with stars, he cried. For all the time lost, and all that was still left to live. Part 5. The Return. 6 weeks passed, then 2 months. His hair grew out, his skin browned from the sun, his inbox ignored, his phone still off. But inside, something bloomed. Then one day, a man arrived. Hiking boots, satellite phone, corporate logo on his jacket. "Daniel Shaw?" He nodded. "We've been looking for you. Your team needs you back. They're falling apart without you. The board wants to talk options, remote if needed. Name your terms." Daniel looked at the trees. He felt the sun on his face. He thought about deadlines, office chairs, how quiet this place had become, and how loud he used to be. "I'm not sure," he said. "Not sure," the man repeated. "I'm not sure I want to go back." There was silence. Then the man gave a stiff smile. "You let us know." When he left, Daniel sat on the porch, watched a deer walk past like he wasn't even there. He picked up a stick, began sketching shapes in the dirt. The world would keep spinning. His company would find someone new. But here, the pine trees stood just as they had yesterday. He didn't know what came next, but he knew one thing. He was finally home.